welcome to Activations. My name is Danielle Lipton. Our co-host today is Jody Powers, and we are going to be discussing my book, My Ascension Guide. And so in this book is a lot of ascension knowledge, different techniques that we can use to raise your biological frequency and allow each and every one of us to start tuning into 5D frequency ranges, which is beautiful. I welcome each and every one of you here tonight. And I also want to welcome Jody. Welcome, Jody.
Thank you so much for having me, Danielle.
Absolutely.
I love this.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Wonderful. So if we can just jump right in, I know that the star people are always ready to jump in, and so are you. So I'm going to follow suit. Perfect. I'm looking at your second chapter of your book called Energetic Grid Structures. Can I read a tiny bit for?
Sure, okay. Absolutely.
Each individual's aura field primarily consists of energetic grid structures overlaid on top of each other, generating a white energetic toroidal field, which is known as the Merkaba energetic field. This field resembles a triangle up and one down with a counter rotation spin.
Yes.
When you say overlaid, can you describe that a little bit? I wonder if it's like the flicker rate or...
Yes. Well, this whole system works together. So your flicker rate is actually controlled by your heart chakra and the frequency coming out of the 0 point. Now, each and every one of the chakra systems, we have a different coloring. So think of the root chakra is red in its color, and then it reflects outward, but there is a source frequency lens inside of the root chakra, which allows that red to cast out. So we see it going about 6 feet outside of the physical form, but the star people said it is coming from the heart in specific. Now, each one of the chakra systems overlays each other. But when we look at them, we see the entire field as being white. Now, any emotion that we trigger in the now moment shifts or changes the energetic grids to allow that emotion to resonate into the lens of the chakra being activated. So what the star people are showing me is, if an individual is in the process of communication, let's say they're doing a live stream or a podcast and they're speaking, then their energy field might reflect more blue into the field itself. And that is because they are utilizing more energy in this chakra, the throat chakra system. Now, this is important because when we start to energetically cast, we are able to energetically cast from each and every one of the chakra lenses, which is, once again, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, all of the colors. And then there is also a form of gamma. When we start to energetically cast all of the field itself, it's going to allow us to make changes or modifications to the entire simulation as we see fit.
I love that. Thank you. So the white is almost angelic, right? Yes. Is that where we get the white, the angelic? Okay. Yes. So I have a question about the celestial realms. And are those 12th dimension, number one?
There is a higher octave above our chakra system. Many people indicate that the angelic realms are in that chakra system, allowing for a perception of a higher frequency being of light. However, that is only the next octave range in what goes on for eternity. Now, the way the frequency ranges go, it can be perceived as going up and up and up, and then folding over on itself. So they're showing me it's like back up and through a toroidal field. So the lightness is up, and then it recirculates itself and comes up with the darkness. This is also how the primary individual's energetic grid structures flow. For inside of the heart is that 0 point, which is an X in its nature with a tiny little vortex in the center. And that X allows for the toroidal shape to form. Now, you can go up and you could go down. The dark realms, dark matter coding grids are below the individual's feet. That grants access into the shadow walker abilities, as well as controlling the dark ones. which are attachments in their nature. However, they are simply messengers of a lower octave range. This lower octave range includes different extrasensory abilities that shall allow the individual to spontaneously manifest universes, for all light must be birthed in darkness. Yes.
Oh, that is so beautiful. All light must be birthed in darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So I pictured, again, we're talking about a toroidal field.
Yes.
Is that what they meant when they said going back on each other and kind of rotating again?
It's the infinity symbol. That's a toroidal field. Now, when we look at the actual energetic structures, we do have the feminine energetics, which has also been perceived as the holy grail, is a V, and the masculine, because the men are giving. They're more straight lined. It's more logically focused in their nature. And so that's the top. Now, many times, what my star people tell me is this field counter rotates. Just tell the field to counter rotate. Do not try and say, turn this way or turn that way, because if we spin it the wrong way, it generates a void. A void is an anti-life-giving energy field, which is wonderful when we want to generate a void, because once again, all life starts in the void. The void is the dark realm, so the dark matter coding grids. So we need the void because the void is connected to the light. The light and the dark, it's only one frequency wave. We perceive it as two different things because it's light and it's dark. But the truth is that the 0 point is in the heart and it's neutrality. So when we hold different emotion codes, it allows for access into this system, and it allows for our perception to be either on a positive outcome or a negative outcome. That's okay too. When we start to go inside, we start to do the shadow work. We start to really hold neutrality to each and every one of our experientials. It then in turn allows us access into that 0 point. When all of the primary chakra systems are fully balanced and coherent, it shall allow the individual access into the 0 point and shall allow you to push energy from that source frequency lens that is in the primary chakra system, which then in turn is going to allow you to change your manifestation of your physical reality in that subsystem. Each one of the chakras contains a subsystem. The subsystem includes different items or physical items in your manifestation. For example, your physical grids come from the root chakra system. That root chakra system allows for you to perceive your home, your money, your car, any physical item that is not a person. The people are in the sacral chakra. Now, when we start to recognize that we can change the lens focus in the root chakra to a convergent or divergent, you can either focus on the civilization or you could focus on yourself. When you start focusing bigger on the civilization, you can make civilization grid changes, which then in turn is going to change the source frequency lenses, which are located above your crown chakra system. These source frequency lenses resemble a target or a bullet in their nature, and it shall allow you to cast or project different frequencies from the root chakra up into that lens, which then in turn changes the reflections of your physical reality.
Wow. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
So each color chakra contains inside of it an energetic grid structure, you say.
Yes.
Each grid contains a sacred geometric image.
Yes.
So are those the images that we see everywhere when we see chakras, or are they different?
No.
Okay. Where do we find those?
The star people have told me, because I've asked them, and then I've tried to have people draw them for me, because I'm like, if the star people won't give them to me, maybe someone else will. Yeah, that didn't work.
Can't work around it.
It did not work at all. I tried, though. I did. But they say it's not important because they don't want us to focus on irrelevant things. The fact is that just imagine that there's a grid. It could look like magical unicorn shapes. It doesn't matter. When we start to go into each one of the grids, let's say we're focused on the root chakra. What they have me do is they have me make a little square with my fingers, and I close my eyes and I imagine pulling the grid out like this. Pull it out. of someone's chakra system. And then I visualize the grid in whatever way my higher self wants me to see that energy field. Then what I do is I look for darkness, any density. Those are the imprints. When we have a trauma, the trauma imprints the energetic grid structure. Now, any imprints that's in the front of the person's body is going to be current problems or current traumas. Any imprints in the rear of their body is going to be things from their past. Any imprints that are on the left-hand side of that grid is going to be the feminine energetic systems. Your feminine energetic systems is a system of creativity and birthing your new ideas. That is also your receiving. Now, your masculine energetics is on the right-hand side. This is how you cast the chi energetics. This is electrical in its nature. The feminine energetics are more magnetic in its nature. It's more emotional based. So when we start to look at people's energy fields, we start to summon, because you're summoning the energy field from each one of the chakras. It literally is like you have to just open your imagination and just imagine and visualize pulling a light color from that grid. And then all of a sudden you will see it in time. You have to use the imagination, and then it manifests through the pineal gland, and then you get used to it. Because once you do this over and over again, you start to see them automatically. It's amazing.
Oh, wonderful. So I feel like it could be like light codes or sigils.
Well, you can
Things like
program
that.
all that stuff in. And you don't even need to do like a light code or sigil like you see some of the artists doing. We don't need to do that. We can do a squiggly line on a piece of paper, and we can say, I encode you with whatever manifestation, with pure health, love, joy, and bliss. And then all of a sudden you visualize casting that image into their grid structures. You can take a binary number. So let's take, for an example, the Grabovoi codes. A Grabovoi codes is a code in a numerical sequence that it's linked into a frequency. So when it's linked into a frequency, we could take that string of numbers, and then we can start to cast that into people's energetic fields. We usually take a Sharpie and we write it on the arm. We write on the left arm because that's the receiving arm. So if it's good health and you need something to be manifest, you write it on the arm and leave it there. So that every day you're looking, right? Because you're looking at your arm or the back of your hand, and you're seeing that frequency and you're becoming thankful for it. All right. So there's different techniques to hack the body.
So what kind of codes were those that you just said?
Grabovoi codes. And so I don't.
Are they different from quantum healing codes?
It's similar in their nature. I'm not really too brushed up on quantum healing codes, but I do know that
they're numbers.
Yeah, that's what these are. They're numbers. And
I wonder if they're the same. Okay.
He figured out the frequency. And so if the frequency of healed eyesight, for an example, was 10173, just an example, that's not the correct number. What he did was he figured out the frequency of healthy eyes in the human body. And then he figured out with his technology what the binary codex number of that frequency was. So it's binary, it's ones and zeros, but it can also be sevens, eights, nines. And then what he did was he matched them all up. He made a book. There's a book on it. I don't own the book, but I saw a TikTok.
Well, I'm going to look that up. Or maybe one of our viewers, Francis, says Grabovoi codes. I bet I'm not saying that right.
Grabovoi. I'm probably not saying it correct either. Good job, Francis. I call it Grabovoi.
Grabovoi. Perfect.
But it's not only
things
that.
Really work. So you're tapping into the frequency.
Yes, but what the star people are even saying now, because now they have an input, they're saying that you can take any. Let's say you take a number and a letter sequence, because the Grabovoi codes, they're already known by multiple people. So you would want to add in a letter into the sequence, but you can cast your own numbers, your own sequences. Now, this works even faster if you have 3 people, 2 girls and a boy, or 2 boys and a girl. And when you guys all come together and you know that this is a frequency and this frequency of this number, because you're encoding it. So you're taking it like a manifestation. And then if you can even add a touch of like your saliva to it, it actually, it casts the energy from your field stronger, which then in turn is going to make it manifest bigger. So many people do this. They write down their wishes. And then what they do is they either burn the wishes or they put them in the ground. And when you're doing that, you're getting the skin oils, that's your DNA, on that paper. And then when you're casting your energetics into the paper, you're summoning that manifestation. The only thing that we are actually doing is we are changing the biological frequencies, magnetism, to allow for that manifestation to come into our physical reality. In time, we are going to be evolved to such a degree in which it is going to allow humanity to step into an instantaneous biological or internal circumstance frequency modification, which then in turn allows the external field to change or shift, allowing you the perception of a shift in the timeline that you are on. This is going to look like a deja vu, but maybe an extended one. So it lasted 3 seconds. And then you become aware, oh, there is a deja vu. So then you start looking around, what changed? That's how you're going to start to see or sense a timeline shift happening in the now moment. When we start to summon the timeline shifts, it is going to look like our conscious focus and attention on generating the magnetism, because all magnetisms are emotional in their nature. And that is going to be cast out into the location grids, allowing it to be an instant timeline jump. Yes.
And so many of us are feeling the effects of this already. And I was just thinking, yesterday I felt deja vu, which I haven't felt in so long.
They do
in months,
because you're on the call with me, and so the star people do adjustments so that they raise your frequency to match, so that the video is correct. They do this because I do ice bath challenges. And so tomorrow in Patchogue, New York, we're going to the float place and we're going to hop in an ice bath around 1 p.m. And so I have some of my online people are meeting me there, and this is what we're going to do. And so, but that's what happens. We do DNA activations. There's all sorts of amazing frequency changes or modifications that gets done. And it's like, at this point, I've seen magic happen, like real magic with real people, and everyone can feel it, sense it. It's amazing.
Yeah. And 2 days ago, someone came to me and said, I really need to be careful about my thoughts and what I think, because things are manifesting so quickly, like within that day, sometimes within that hour. And I think that's another timeline.
That's their reality. Right? And so that's their reality. That's what they're manifesting. But that's not everyone's reality, because in everybody's reality, we have some physically focused people who will never see magic. They will never know it's real. And that's okay too. The universe usually shifts those people out of the way. So like, for an example, if I'm going into a store, that person is walking around the aisle so that he never comes into contact with me. That's how the universe starts to shift us. It puts us in the right place at the right time to have experiences with the right people. Now, some people, if they do not believe in UFOs, for an example, they will not see a UFO even if they are looking at one, because their mind is not going to allow access to see it. We have something called the shade or veil system. Now, just imagine that we are pure light beings. The physical body that we experience, it comes with shades. The shades are kind of like a sunglasses lens. And so our belief systems and our traumas, it adds these little darkened lenses. Some of them aren't darkened. It's belief patternings aren't really darkened. They're more like a prescription, the star people are saying. But it changes the way we see into the physical reality. The physical reality is nothing like we know it to be. It completely is not what we know it to be. It is electrical magnetism in its nature, and it is malleable, the star people are saying, which basically means that it is fluid. We can change it. This is where mind over matter comes into play, because the second that we become fully aware that with our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, we can then start casting those thoughts and emotions. And when we start to do that, every single item that we are touching, holding, or even observing, we know the emotions. How does it feel? How does it feel to have the crystal in your hand? Can you close your eyes? How does your body sense the crystal? What color is it? Because holding a different color item is going to actually shift the energy inside of your body in a different pattern sequence. Now, this is very important, because that means that we can start to determine the emotion code of each item that we are engaged with. When we know the emotion code and how the energy shifts inside of the body, it allows us to fine tune our manifestations. For example, we have something known as micro expressions. A micro expression is when an individual, let's say they smile, but, but they do it really quick. And so when they do it really quick, it's like, oh, I know what you were thinking because I saw your micro expression, because I saw the emotion in your face for a split millisecond. And so that tells me something about what it is you're trying to portray to me. Now, let me tell you, if a micro expression is an emotion, that means that every single act of energy and energetic casting is an emotional expression. Emotions control the magic. The way to activate them is with it's like a hardcore impulse of an emotion, whether it be light or dark, good or bad. It can be used in both. And so we cannot skew the information. We have to be truthful and honest. This is what the star people are saying. You can use dark arts, unfortunately, but this is just the simulation that we live in. I always like to speak about the light ones, but the light ones, right? The light ones is a little trickier to activate because you have to be all love and light, and you have to really step into your heart, and you have to hold bliss. And so the more and more you do that, it's really not harder. The star people are saying it feels better. So technically it's easier. So they're correcting me. But when you get really angry, it's like, wow, it fires off. You start noticing things quicker.
Yeah.
So, right. But when we hold bliss, we start to manifest faster. And then we start to notice the deja vus. This is all part of the ascension timeline. When we start noticing the deja vus, it then starts us in the process of, okay, I noticed a deja vu. I know I'm timeline jumping. So now how can I control my energy field to allow me to jump into the timeline I most prefer? Yes.
Okay. So that was my next question. So when you're jumping timelines, now that I know that deja vu means I'm jumping timelines, how do I know I'm not jumping to a lower one?
How did it make you feel? How did you feel during the deja vu? How did you feel right before the deja vu? So most times,
it was wonderful.
Yeah. Right. So that's,
it was wonderful. But I was like, oh my God, this is deja vu. Okay.
Yeah, I met someone, and when they give heart hugs, they shift you to your highest potential timeline. And I swear to God, I hugged her twice. I took 3 steps back, and I experienced the longest deja vu I've ever had in my entire life. And I knew, and I pointed at her, I was like, you were there in the old timeline. We just shifted timelines. Everyone in the whole room looked at me like I was crazy. I was the only one who experienced it, right? So it was one of those moments. But then we all went outside, and I did an in-person channeling for everyone. And it was like the highest frequency channeling I had ever done. And then the star people started talking to her, and they were like, one of your abilities is shifting people into the highest potentials. And she was like, ever since she was a child, she had been telling people, I only want what's best for you. I only want to see you.
And she really meant it.
She really meant it from her heart.
Yeah, she really meant it. Yeah.
And so when she casts out, she shifts you. And so, then we get overboard, and then it's like the text messaging, and can you heart hug me today? Every day.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful communication.
It is.
And so on one of your past lives, you described yourself as a quantum healer. Yes. So quantum if you channeler are too. Yeah, quantum healer, channeler kind of is the same umbrella. You're a quantum channeler that has an ability to heal through that channeling, right? Yeah. So what would you call this particular friend that you were talking to or talking about?
It's the same thing. She's accessing the quantum realm. So the quantum realm, because the way I can only explain the way this feels to me. Now, when we start tuning into the quantum realm, as a channeler, I'm standing and I'm looking at these people, and they're right in front of me. And then it feels, because my channeling is very rapid, I can feel the frequency waves coming off of the people because we're connected by an energetic grid or a field. And it feels like I can push on it. And it's a very, very weird sensation. So, but the star people have told me that's because you're accessing such a high frequency. You're accessing the quantum realm, which is all time and all space. Now, after I came out of one of those channelings, I looked at my friend and I called her a different name. And I looked at her and I was like, that's not your name? And she was like, no, that's not my name. And I was like, in my world, that was your name. And then it was like, I started to slide back into the reality that I was in alignment with her. But her name I knew for a solid fact was different. And so the star people were like, because you're accessing a very high frequency of the quantum realm. When my friend who does the deja vu heart hugs, when she casts the heart emotion, the emotion that she is casting is accessing the quantum realm, allowing the slipstream of the individual she is projecting it at to open and allow for the higher frequency of the highest potential to manifest in that individual's 0 point, which is inside of the heart chakra system. That's the star people are telling us that right now. I said we got to write that down.
So, do the star people, can they tell us if quantum hypnosis does something similar or the same? Because I feel like a lot of the things that we talk about happen when I am in a session with hypnotism.
Yes. So it all depends on each session, and it depends on how excited each person is, because it really is the excitement that it shoots you up into all potential, all possibility. Now, the star people are also saying avid meditators have an easier time accessing the quantum field. And that is because each one of the chakra systems comes into rebalancing when we start to meditate. This naturally starts to happen, although there can be secondary imbalances and third imbalances in the external grids and the internal circumstances. So the meditation takes the primary chakras and sets them in alignment. The primary chakras are going to allow your energy field access to come all the way up out the top of the head. They're going to allow access in through that 0 point and allow you to pull all the highest frequency from the higher self into the heart. The heart controls the flicker rate of the simulation, as well as your highest potential and timeline shifts must always come from the heart. Yes.
Wonderful. That is. So now I'll get back to the book a little bit. So the sacred geometric images, we are not allowed, and it's not important to get those. But to recap what you were saying is here as well.
Okay. So I'm so sorry to interrupt you. He just told me why, right? Because I was like talking to my starman in my head, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And he's like, because if we gave you what the grid looked like and somebody skewed the grid on purpose, you could make someone very sick. So they don't want to give you the images until unity consciousness is fully activated. That makes a lot of sense. So just imagine if their energy field is supposed to look like a certain snowflake or sacred geometry, and all of a sudden we come in and we start pulling all the images, then you can make someone very ill. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
That's fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you for protecting us.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Really, thank you
There's
for
always a
protecting us.
reason. There's always, I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no conspiracy, you know, it's for our highest and best is what I've felt.
Always.
So the ability to mentally view each grid and enlarge each one is of high value. And that's exactly what you described.
Yes.
Right? You're taking your thing and you're kind of
pull it apart,
it up a little bit.
And see it. See it the way that you want to see it.
Magnifying it.
Clean it off.
Okay. For it shall allow the individual to clear any density inside the grid structure and shall change the manifestation of each experience viewed by the independent chakra system.
Yes.
So the independent chakra system is the primary plus. Some people call it like the soul chakra and the earth chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay.
I don't know. I know the root, you have the sacral, you have solar plexus. These are all the primary systems. So the primary energetic.
But the one above your head and below your feet.
Yes. And
they
then
have different names.
There's more things above the head as well. There's a whole stargate that's up there. And there's your experiential points that is up there. Each one of the experiential points contains the experiences that need to be, he's saying, encoded or healed. And it can be from birth as well. We have to feel all the emotion codes for each experience. So each experience, like an experience, like say we have, say you have an experience where you trip and fall. All of the emotions that you felt throughout the entire experience, including the healing process of the trip and fall, has to be healed. The way we do it is we see the dark emotion codes, he's saying. So the pain, the struggling, if you broke something, all of that information is dark. Then you have to heal it. So we send it love and light, but you also have to hold neutral. It is okay that I went through the dark experiences. Many times the very advanced people who are meant to ascend very rapidly, we go through such darkness that you wouldn't recognize us if you went back 5 or 6 years ago. But it's like, it's a slingshot into the light realms. This is done on purpose, because if you have a look at a frequency wave, you have to go the level of darkness and the level of light. It has a medium point, and that medium point means the level of darkness that you experience is the level of light that you have a potential to experience. That's how this works. So the homeless people who are sleeping in the streets, all of the people who go through significant dark days, those people should be congratulated, and then they should be pushed into meditation and healing modalities, because those people have very high potentials to heal. And not only heal, ground in the crystalline frequency bandwidth for all of humanity's evolution. Yeah. Beautiful.
Wow, that is wonderful. So I want to talk about discharge energetics.
Okay.
The thought grids are electric in nature and are connected to the brainwave patterning.
Okay.
They may be seen as dodecahedron and yellow-white in color.
Yes.
Physical contact with Mother Earth shall discharge energetics. Are those the light ions that we were talking about?
So Mother Earth, when we earth ground, she sends us negative light ions. The negative light ions, it discharges any toxic energy inside of the body, and it can be easily seen because there's a process of inflammation that starts to shrink. So let's take, for an example, someone is very ill, and then they start throwing their shoes off and spending all, if not all of their time, but most of their time grounded to the earth. All of those cells start to come into cohesion with the earth frequency. Now, just imagine for 1 second, when an individual starts a process of meditation, their heart rate starts to connect to Mother Earth's heart rate. This is magnetic in its nature. So we're pulling down the magnet sphere, the star people are saying, which then in turn allows for this process of grounding to manifest. The chi energetic systems are electrical in their nature. These are tied into the dodecahedron thought grids, the star people are saying. When you stand on Mother Earth, she is giving you light ions from the bottom or soles of your feet. She is also pulling down your magnetic field, which is allowing her to see which emotion codes have a negative or dark imprint inside of them. This allows Mother Earth to send the individual a proper electrical voltage to heal such emotion coding that needs a new imprint. Yes.
That's a miracle right there. Like, really, on these lives, you're talking about the miracles and how we can attain them. We can call them manifestation if we want, but really these are miracles.
I've seen miracles, so I know that they're real. I went from being a cripple of 12 years, literally, and I couldn't walk, and it was a nightmare, and I healed my pain in about 2.5 weeks. So, and that it was eye-opening, because it was like I was on this whole cycle of I can't walk, my back is broken, all this stuff. This all happened in the past, so it doesn't manifest again. And from raising my frequency, grounding into the earth, and just taking the time to watch the squirrels eat. You can heal the body. And my neighbor had cancer in her lungs. She had 4 giant masses. She was able to heal that in about 6 weeks. So I've seen that.
That is incredible. And are there times that people can't heal no matter what? They're meant to it's their time.
Well, it depends. And so if you take that person who just cannot heal at all, and let's say because of their financial position, they're not able to run. And so, but if you were to take them and you were to put them, let's say, in a healing center, somewhere that's on a nice beach, no alcohol, but we can have pineapple juice with a little flour, and we can sit around really funny people, and those funny people are going to make her laugh all day. They're going to because this is what I made my neighbor do. It's so funny. I surrounded her in crystals, right? I made her wear crystals. she had lung cancer, so she was breathing in iodine because I put it in a nebulizer for her. I made her drink the borax, micro doses, and I got her outside putting her feet on the ground and laughing. And then not only that, but I made her listen to a lot of music, things that made her feel good, made her feel like she was young again. In her generation, she was older than me, so her music of her day and age was very like nice. It's not like the heavy metal I listened to when I was younger. So for her, it was perfect. And she was able to heal in 6 weeks. Now, if someone is having an issue with the location and not having the right people around them, yeah, it could be harder. It's much harder sometimes to heal in solitude because it's like there's no one there to encourage you and to make you laugh and to get you to do hard things. Because a lot of times jumping in an ice bath, let me tell you something, it resets the dopamine levels, it resets the emotion grids, it resets your thoughts. Any low or toxic thoughts that you had, all that stuff goes right out the window in about 6 minutes sitting in ice water. And then all of a sudden, your body starts to feel better when you start to focus on doing positive changes every single day. Now, this also, it's a lot easier to eat salad. If you're really sick, no one has time to cut salad if you don't feel good. A lot of times you'll hear people say, oh, I just don't have the energy to prepare the salad. That's because they don't feel well. So really, the future of humanity, I personally, I can see the healing centers coming. And if someone really drops into the low frequency, we're going to want to scoop them up because that means that they have a high potential to heal quick. So,
yeah. That is a miracle too, just to know that. Listen, if you've been through a lot, and I would say that too, when I was going through the dark night, I would say, I'm going through this for a reason. I don't know what it is, but otherwise this doesn't make sense. And it was for a reason, for sure. And I asked somebody else, I said, I think it's, my healing abilities, my healing hands, my ability to talk to angels and access other realms is directly proportional to what I suffered.
That's correct.
Right. And there's so many people that suffered more than me. I had so many blessings throughout that time that other people don't have, It was not sleeping on the street. So imagine what they have and imagine the hope that you're giving to people.
Yes.
Right now, just by
and
talking about that.
we've all experienced a dark night of the soul. We just
have we all? And what do you mean we all? Like
I think
we all light workers,
I think all of us. I think all people. I mean, you look at the civilization as a whole, and when you actually look at the civilization, a lot of people look lost, hopeless, especially when you're working 9 to 5 and then you have to work 2 jobs. And then all of a sudden you turn around and you're 50 and it's like, this retirement and what are you going to do? And then you retire. And then it's like, now what do? You sit around. Like, this is like the physical reality. And I was like, I've said this for years, there's got to be more than this. I just don't accept this. Right. Thank God there was more.
Right. And now we're seeing it. Thank goodness.
It's hopeless, right? Because it's like when you get to such a point, and even if you have all the money in the world, even if you have all the stuff, all the toys and trinkets, that only gets you so far. And then you turn around and you're like, what good is all this junk, right? There has to be more than this. And so that's where my life was. And my life has been there for a very long time. Now, in the past, since 2019, everything shifted. So now I know, there's a whole lot more here. And not only is there more here, but it's like once we unlock all of the more here, then there's more up there to unlock again.
Yes.
So it's beautiful.
The blessings just keep coming. Always, like I'm here talking to you now, just it's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
How
and
people
it's
and things get put in your way.
It gives you hope.
In your path.
It gives you hope, right? Because it's like we are not stuck slavery in this system. That is not who we are. Because the second that we start to recognize, well, wait a minute, if you guys can instantaneously manifest anything that you need, anything, any dollar amount, and most of the times we don't even need money, we sign on a paper, right? But anything that you need, you can instantaneously manifest. You can manifest your health to be healthy very rapidly. I've done it after spending 12 years going through the pharmaceutical companies. It's just, it's a change in the way that you see the entire world, because now all of a sudden you're taking back your power. Now you know that anything you need, it starts inside of your heart and it reflects outward, which gives you access to manifest anything you need. It just really is a matter of what is it that you need, right? And money is not going to make you happy. It's not going to fill your heart with joy long term. So really what we need is we need the basics. We need to be fed. We need to have a roof. We need to have clothes. There's tiny home movements happening right now too, where people are getting rid of the big expensive stuff and they want more experiences. They want more community. And that really is where I personally see my life going. I want community. I want a tiny home community. I want a healing center. I want to be around people who want to have these type of conversations. I want to be able to take people and help them to heal themselves and give people power, because power is how we change.
You are doing it.
Yeah. So are you.
Well, it's possible now. And again, as I say all the time, like I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't seen it and experienced it for myself. And the dark night of the soul was a huge part of that. And helping other people go through that is what you're doing. And I think maybe everyone has gone through it, but the dark night of the soul is not a depression. And I think people think it's when you lose everything that you thought was important to you. And just like you said, it's not. You can have a tiny home, but you have community. You might not have money, but you have non-tangible abundance.
Yeah. You have everything you need. And let me tell you something. And this I think is hilarious, right? Yeah. With all the money in the world, I would rather have the tiny home community so I knew where my food came from. Because if I could spend all day walking out in the garden saying, I love and bless you fruit, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what.
Yeah, really.
No, she's out there blessing, talking to the plants. Like that's what I would be. Right? I love and bless your plants. And then not only that, but there's a DNA exchange with the plants as well. So when you grow and you harness your own plants and you incorporate your blood, sweat, and tears, literally any of the fluid systems into that plant, or sucking on the seeds before you plant them, it gets your DNA encoded with the seed. And now when the plant grows, that plant knows which nutrients to suck into the plant to allow your body to heal. Mother Earth is giving us the cures for the emotion code imbalances that we have in the field. This is how the process works. It's so interesting. So all the money in the world, you could buy the mansion, but you're still shopping in the same supermarkets, right? The tiny home community is where it's at. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. Right. And you were saying that some tree or plant, whatever you need to heal yourself, is most likely somewhere in your vicinity, if you can find it and if you can manifest it to show it to you.
It's always within arm's reach. And so when I was going through my injury days, now it was every single disc in my back was herniated, bulged, and my hip was completely shifted. And the doctors wanted to fuse my entire spine. And something inside of me kept telling me, I am not going to do that surgery because I will find a cure. Years later, I was researching plant-based medicines. And then all of a sudden, I found my cure was right in my backyard and I didn't know what it was. It was a cure for pain. It was a type of red purple berry and you smush it between your hands. We had done this a million times as children. And then you take the juice and you put it on your back pain and all your pain disappears. And so
how did you find
the cure? The cure was right there because it flashed in one of my feeds. Elderberry. It was the name of a berry.
It flashed in your feeds.
Yeah. Because
it'll show itself.
Well, when you're out in the backyard, your cell phone is taking images of everything. And then they send you advertisements or they show it on TikTok. And so it must have, this is what I assume, it must have seen that plant and was like, oh, here's the essential oil. And then, you start researching. And then you're like, that was my cure the entire time. It was right in my backyard. So now what we do is we start researching all the plants in our yard or around us, especially when you start seeing the plant like 2 or 3 times. That's always a synchronicity. So let's take, for an example, the star people are stepping forward. Whenever you start to see an individual who is having an imbalance in the heart chakra system, you may notice many dandelions on their front lawn. And that is because dandelion is the #1 cure for any and all heart disease, especially when you make it into a tea or you ingest the roots. So the #1 producer is Roundup, and they also are tied into the #1 heart medication, which is ironic. So it's, let's kill the plant that's the #1 cure. So we can sell you guys a medicine.
So you would tell me about the dandelion tea, making it yourself. Everyone can find a dandelion around here in New England.
All the time. It's
down in Long Island,
everywhere.
right?
Well,
okay.
think about the plant itself. We have all these children pulling it, making wishes.
Blowing on it.
Yeah. But they're taking their consciousness and they're encrafting it with love and light. And so when we take the root or we take the flowers, we chop them all up. You dry them out. You could dry them out. And so in a dehydrator, and then you just chop it up and you take it like a tea. You put it in a little bag or your little ball and you put it in and you seep it. Or you could go championship level activated and then you eat the actual flowers. It depends on the level of imbalance. If you're having heart issues, I would eat the whole plant and the root. Sometimes you suck it up because you want to be healthy, right? But
I do that before I did an ice bath, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You bless the water. Thank you, water, for healing my body, my mind, my spirit. And, it's the same thing with all of the food, because all of God's food, it contains water inside of it. And so when we start to love and bless the food and the water that we drink, it automatically raises the frequency of the water and the food, because the food, especially when eaten raw, it contains that water. Now, I've done little stay-at-home mom experiments with my water. Yep. And so I've taken the water bottles, I've placed it up to my heart, and I've encoded it with different emotion codes. And then I put it in the freezer. You'll notice a vortex energetic inside of the water bottle. And so now try casting different emotions, and you're going to start to see the vortex is going to be different. This is how it works. Wonderful. Yeah.
So I take my water and I distill it. Mm-hmm. Very, very easy and very cheap to do. I think I paid $60 for a distiller.
Beautiful.
Right? I distill the water, put it in the windowsill, in my windowsill, and it's where I do my work. It's where I do my meditation, my prayers. We sing sometimes when I have groups over, and that's how I activate my water. Yeah. What do you do in addition to putting it close to your heart that we could learn from?
I have this thing, and I have so many things. So this is what do you call this? My friend Stacy sent this to me. I love this thing because it's called a Vibes Up mat. And so, but this does the same thing. It reconfigures the cellular structure of the water. Now, you can also use a piece of selenite. And so one of my other good friends, she gave me this.
Oh, that is so nice.
It has a zodiac. So it was my birthday on October 2nd. So we got all cool things. Right?
Happy late birthday. That really is amazing.
I usually celebrate the entire month. So much fun. Right?
And that must have something to do with Halloween. You loving Halloween.
I love Halloween. This is
the whole month
is
beautiful. So you take your water and put it on selenite.
Yes. And you can strap crystals or like this one has a zipper pocket. This one is great because I do the ice. So I actually take the water bottle and I fill it halfway with water. I bless it. I throw it in the freezer. And then, what happens is then I pour fresh water into it. And I got really lucky because my kid's father, he works for a water factory. So there's like 0 fluoride and none of that processed material in our water. So thank you, universe, for cleaning up our water. That was also an affirmation that I did. And so the affirmation is I eat the healthiest foods ever and I drink the cleanest, purest water ever. And so it manifests in many different ways. So you can take your crystals and you can put them in like a zipper pocket so long as it's next to the actual bottle. Some bottles, they have glass bottles where you put the crystals in the actual bottle. Now, there is a thing about glass. And so glass doesn't really allow light ions to shine through. So yeah, there will be a frequency transference. And I don't know about drinking out of plastic. I drink out of plastic, but I know that it's probably not the healthiest thing to do. But the crystals and the frequency will easily pass through plastic. So it's like
there are risks and benefits to each one, right?
Yeah. It is. Plus,
Yeah,
not only
okay.
that, if you're raising the frequency in the water, then it's really not going to harm you. There's also different affirmations that we can program into the water. So let's take, for an example, let's take high blood pressure. And so, or kidney disease. To start people saying someone who's going to watch this has kidney disease, kidney paralysis that they're going through. And so, what you can do is you can imagine all of that darkness, all of that density, or just even imagine the kidneys refiltering the fluid faster and doing it 100%. If it's the blood pressure, imagine your blood pressure relaxing because you're drinking the water. Hold it up to your heart as you are ever so gently doing this. You are encoding an emotional frequency into the water, which is allowing that manifestation to come into your current reality timeline. So what I want you to do is just imagine and visualize how is your physical body going to feel healed. And then just ever so gently thank and bless the water for allowing that magnetism to come into your physical body. This is not going to change the outside reality. This is going to change your frequency, which then shifts the reality that you see. Now, it's not the spoon that bends because that's impossible. It's you that bends because you're the one shifting your frequency, allowing you the perception of shifting into a different timeline in which the spoon was already bent. Does that make sense? Because that's deep.
I think I'm getting it. It is deep. I have to keep listening to you and reading your book and listening and then asking questions for clarification. But it's starting to make sense to me.
Yes. And it's good. It will. It takes, I have my Facebook people, they've been with me since the beginning.
They're your OGs.
A lot of them are like, I feel like I'm in a college class. I'm like, yeah, it's great, right? Me too.
Yeah, so, you are.
Yeah.
So does liking horror movies, is that low vibrational? It feels very much to me like the swearing and the horror movies are kind of in the same thing.
It is.
Yeah,
I used to love Saw, right? And I had all the DVDs and I went through this whole process with the star people of raising my frequency. And then I put one of the DVDs on and I was like, and like, you literally do that and you feel it in your heart and you're like, right? Your heart like sinks into your chest. That's how you know that you're pulsing your heart's energy into the rear. You never want to do that on purpose because what happens is it starts to form an energetic imprint and then it starts a cycle repeat. And so that one experience of watching the horror movie, and it was Saw, it was like the first 30 seconds of the movie was like in the barbed wire, right? And just like, oh. Yeah. So, but it triggers all these emotions inside of you that you would not necessarily become aware of unless you had done the shadow work to clean up all the emotions. It was wild. I couldn't believe it. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, let's just put it on, right? It's Halloween time. Yeah. This is like last year. And
another experiment for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Another experiment.
Well, to see if you're still in alignment with the lower frequency stuff. I just recently, it was within the past like 2 or 3 weeks, I just gave away an entire CD case of all of the music and all of the movies that I have been saving for like 20 something years. And it was like, my star man was like, give it away. He was telling me for like 6 months, just give it away. You don't need it. It's not in alignment. And I was holding on. Right. But then once I released it, I was like, you're absolutely right. Because going back into the iTunes and trying to listen to that music, it's not in alignment. Right. Anything that's talking about physically focused garbage, right? And all of the lower frequency topics that we grew up on, it's like, that's not in alignment at all. And then not only that, but the music should even be set to a certain tone because certain frequencies heal the body. And so like 432 hertz, that's only one example. That also, it ties into a lot of different biological systems. But when we start to recognize that we can reprogram the music that we're listening to allow for it to heal our chakra systems or even the whole energetic grid structure as a whole. Now, the ancients knew this information because they had encoded different pillars. When it turned, it would make sound. All of those sounds are encoded to healing frequencies. Mozart, Beethoven, it was sacred geometry or sacred sciences really encoded into their music. And so that's why we play it for the babies in the womb. Yeah.
Yes. And the music and the math are all interconnected, and the ancients, the Essenes, knew so much about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, we don't need to talk about the Essenes, but I'm fascinated with those cultures that we think were just,
It gets
ignorant.
like 10 levels deeper, because
Yeah.
I've dove into the ancient civilizations too at one point, and then I
Mhm.
chose to like cast most of that information out of my mind, because when you reach a certain level, you start to step into the awareness of that's not real, because the past, the present, and the future is all happening right now. And what's real is right now in this very moment. And
Yeah.
just imagine for 1 second, we can drop into a meditation and we can cast our consciousness back in time, and we can generate or manifest a pyramid to appear a block away from our house. That's how powerful we are. And then all of a sudden, that pyramid will be there. It might even be covered with dirt, but it'll be like a dirt mound or whatever the situation might be. But we can
Yeah.
manifest that. And that's because this is not a solid place that we are existing in right now. It's fluid. That means the past is fluid. We could change it. The future, it hasn't technically happened yet, but it's fluid as well. We could change it. The way that we change these two things is by the 0 point in the now moment. So our manifestations, we are also instructed by the star people to take a look at any civilization cycle repeats, because the civilization
Okay.
cycle repeats is an energetic imprint that the individual has encoded into their field. Now, when we dive into meditations, we can start to pull the information from the civilization grid, and we can start to release or heal the cycle repeats in the civilization. And the way that they're showing me that we do this is like any imprint. So we take the trauma, that cycle repeating. And then we have to hold neutrality. And so it is okay that this bad stuff happened to us. It's okay that it happened to the entire civilization. And then we send it love and light to heal it. When we hold the 3 different emotion codes to each trauma, it allows for one of those triangles to open up above our heads, which is an experiential triangle, and it allows us to heal this for the entire civilization. We also have to see the polarity. It has a lot to do with the number 23. They're showing me the polarity is we have to see someone else go through it and we have to go through it. So that's 2.
What does that have to do with? Oh, 2. Okay, go ahead.
2. So I have to do it. Now I have to see someone else do it. And then I have to hold 3 different emotion codes to each one. That's 2
Okay.
and that's 3. When we go into that number 23, we start to unlock the system.
Okay. So can you just tell me what 23, what that had to do with 23?
Well, 23 is a numerological code. And so 3, they're showing me, is a number of God or the source frequency. And so 333 is actually the source frequency itself, the number. And there's also 333 levels to the raising of the consciousness and blending in one to make your consciousness one with the source frequency. 2 is a polarity. So we have boys and we have girls. There's a polarity here. We have light and we have day. We have light and we have night. That's a polarity. We have the sun, we have the moon. That's polarity. We see everything in duality. So 2, we have to see the polarity of the situation, and 3 emotion codes. Now, when we start to hold 3 emotion codes, 333 gives the number 9. 9 is divine. 9, whenever we see 9, we are birthing for 9 months. It is also 333, but it's 3 squared if you look at it. That's what the star people are saying.
Can I ask about a number, a date that I just got the other day?
You can.
12, 13, 23. And it was 3, 4, and 5. If I added up those numbers, it's 3, 4, and 5.
He said no. I don't know why he said no. He just said no. That's my husband. No, he wants to keep my channeling very in alignment with here is your power and here is where the power lies. So what he's saying right now is you take the numbers and you have to do the research on the numerology. The numerology is going to give you access, and it has to be your cell phone, because your cell phone is a reflection of your consciousness. So what he's saying is,
Okay.
if they were to give you all of the knowledge that you are seeking right now, then you would stop being the seeker. And he's saying that this message is for me too. We would stop being the seeker, and we would just be like, give us the answer, right? And then that's the easy way of doing it. You know the answer, just share with us.
Right. But it was very interesting. I was like, okay, that date, it was very important for me, but also how it lined up to add up to 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, that's a
I thought,
synchronicity.
numbers are just, they're so important. And no, I looked at the book and I wrote down another question for you, the 13th frequency.
Yeah.
Threes have always been 13, 33, 333
Yeah.
have always been on my radar since I was, that's my number. Just like you had 311, I think. You have
411. I do 411.
411.
Yeah, I'm an information bringer. It just worked out this way because I'm a master number 22, and then it's 22 breaks down to an 11. I think I hope I did the numerology correct. I was young when I did this. So I resonate with the 22. I resonate with the 11. I resonate with the 4. And so 2 plus 2 is 4. That's where I got that from. But you break it down and it's 11 because a 4 is 1111. So I resonate with all of those numbers. And then I started using the number 411 for everything. And then all of a sudden they turned around and they were like, you needed to use the number 411 because it made you an information bringer. And I was like, oh, and it's very similar to the tattoo. So this tattoo means truth. And it's, I tattooed this when I was in high school, a little bit after high school. And I had no idea in the way it was going to manifest because I'm a bringer of the truth for humanity. I come from the house of L. And I know that sounds so amazing, but it's, the star people I work with, they have the L in their house is the way that they refer to it as. And so they're all bringers of the truth. That's why we're in alignment to do this type of work. Yeah.
To bring in the truth, to bring the magic, really.
Yeah. Well, it's the truth of the reality. But in a sense, it's only my truth that I'm bringing here. Even though I do work with the star people, and even though this is their truth because they're in alignment with me, on some spiritual levels, we have to also be aware that my reality is my manifestation. This whole scenario, this whole book, all of this knowledge is my manifestation in my reality. Each and every one of us, our shades in our lens veil system is going to allow you guys to read the book, and you're going to pull the knowledge that's in alignment for you to use to unlock your realities. And then you may have a totally new pattern of knowledge come just from reading one of the pages. And when that happens, it opens and expands. So we're not supposed to get information from one source. We're supposed to let it flow to us from the source of all knowledge.
Yeah. But when I do read this book, like we just went over one page of your book and it's been an hour, one page of your book, and we haven't covered even all of it. But what happens when I read this, and I read a lot of it today, I read a lot of this page, these 2 pages today. It's so dense. And I had to keep going over and over it to let it sink in. It is, very dense, but also there are synchronicities where it would connect to something else, or I'd see a book. I just bought a numerology book and it came in. So stuff like that.
Because it's a mirror reflection of your consciousness. So there goes my train. I don't know if you hear it.
I love your train. I love your train.
Another person would take the same book and then they would flip open to a totally different page. So they wouldn't read it in order. So then their day would be totally different because they would be absorbing different information than you. It has to always be in divine alignment with the individual. And so whatever knowledge that person needs, and the star people said this is why it was written like this in different posts. So each page is a post. Every day you just read one page. That's it. And just allow that information in, even if now they're starting to show me You can take the book, you can hold it up to your heart, you can close your eyes ever so gently, and you can just allow the information to be downloaded into your field. Right? And just allow that information, feel it tapping into the heart, and feel it resonating out into the energy on the outside of the body. And now I thank you, source frequency.
Yep.
You could say it too. I thank you, source frequency.
I thank you, source frequency,
for downloading all of this information into my energetic field, as well as all of the individuals watching the video. And then we say amen.
Amen.
Usa, usa, usa.
Osa, osa, osa.
So amen means send the manifestation to the sun for manifestation. And usa means it is done. That's beautiful. So, and that's it. That's all we have to do. Now, in scientific terms, what the star people are showing me is we just took the knowledge in this book and we cast it back up into the human consciousness grids. The human consciousness grids, because we are all energetically bonded during the type of video expression that we're doing, it forms an energy grid between all of us. And so when we take the knowledge, we send it back up, the source frequency responds by casting the knowledge into this consciousness grid that we are all co-creating, thus allowing each and every person here to absorb the information. Now, of course, the information is going to come in random ways. You may see a bluebird. That bluebird may lead you to a bookstore, and then all of a sudden you're downloading knowledge that is identical to this. Or you may come across a post. Or I've even had people copy my posts and then they cast it out on their networks, and then it didn't matter because it still reached people. So one way or the other, it gets spread to the collective. And that's the most important thing, is that we share the knowledge that we have. We don't gatekeep. We give all the knowledge away because we want humanity to raise and to evolve. Yes.
Right. And the universe will take care of us if we do that.
Always. Always.
We have to do the work, obviously. We have to do work, but doing what we love to do. Like, I love doing this. Yes. You love doing this. This is beautiful for us.
I was doing this 4 times a week in the beginning. It was too much. And so they were like, you have to cut it back to 2 because it's too much knowledge. So I was like, all right. So
yeah,
it's amazing.
But you were in the zone and you were just loving it.
Yeah.
So, okay. In order to access the crystalline frequency realms, the density from the energetic grid structures must be released, and more light shall shine through the individual, thus allowing the 12-strand crystalline DNA to begin the activation process.
Yes.
I kind of whittled it down, so tell me if I did this right, to release, like clearings, energetic clearings, and receiving downloads, pretty much.
Okay, so the way that this whole system works, wait a second, I have to plug in TikTok. This is the second time TikTok needs to be plugged in. Hold on. Sorry, TikTok, you guys get to see my room. Okay, fantastic. So the way that this whole system works is like this. We have the experiential star point that's located above the head. There are 12 different triangle points. The number 13 is the gate that we go through. The star people have showed me what this feels like to go through this gate. It feels like unconditional love and bliss. It is beautiful. It is beyond anything I personally have ever felt in this planet, in this world here. So, but they showed me the way it is you have to heal your experientials. So your experientials is going to be, let's say you had a very significant pain trauma in this life. They're stepping forward and they're saying some of the individuals watching, some people, some of these points are already open and cleaned from past life reincarnations. So not all of them are going to have density to clear. Each one of them is connected to one of the 12 strands of DNA. So an experiential is basically like, what is one very prominent trauma that you have had that has generated multiple emotion codes and all that stuff needs to heal? That's an experiential. So an experience is like, you had a car accident. the car accident, now you had to go to rehab, you had to go to the hospital, you had all this pain, you have a cast, now the cast is itchy. That's all emotion codes. You have to go through each and every experience, each and every emotion code, and you have to heal all of it. When you release density, when you heal that emotion, then all of a sudden it allows more light to cast through you. You can feel someone's energetic field when they are casting more light. They feel very similar to someone who's very charismatic. However, it also can feel very, very loving, caring, kind, or you may feel like a inclination. Saying, I think that's
inclination. Yeah,
inclination's a word. So he's saying inclination to tell them your traumas. And so your trauma is anything. And we all know that we have some people that we walk up to and we're like, this happened to me, right?
Yeah, and you talked about it in chapter 1.
Yes. Oh, we
did.
Who
were the light bringers and the ascension guides. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me more about it.
So those people there, they help us to unlock this whole system. It's amazing. But those people there, they are shining a higher light, because the reason that we feel drawn to them is specifically because we know that they're not going to cast back at us. They're not going to take our pain, our trauma, and throw it in our faces. They are here to help us to heal. That means that a part of our energy, a part of our awareness or consciousness is aware that that person is of light, of love, of service to the collective. That's why we feel safe with them. When someone really toxic walks into a room, we can feel that toxicity on them. We can feel attachments. Attachments are they're messengers of a lower vibrational frequency who are energetic beings in their nature. And I do attachment sessions with people. And so I pull them off people and cast them off. But they are real beings. They have families. They have all sorts of things. We can feel these beings. And these beings, they get transferred from person to person to person. This happens automatically the second that you walk into the civilization. They hop from person to person to person. This is part of being alive here. That's okay too. Now, when we start to recognize our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, now this is key, because when we start to have a thought it may not be ours, then we want to take into consideration, maybe it's an attachment, and we have to learn to cast them off. Yeah.
And a lot of people, myself included, I would say, oh, well, my chakras are clear. I already did an energy clearing. Well, did you walk out of the house? What did you watch on TV? What did you put in your body? Like all of those things, we have to continually clear.
That is 100%
that the hard way.
Well, it's a baby step process. And I've learned by going through this process, I'm not too hard on myself, because it's okay if I fail 1,000 times. I only have to get it right once. And that's okay too. And it takes that, it's like it releases resistance, and it just makes it okay. When things feel okay, we have a higher potentiality of shifting out of the habit. Your behavior patterns are everything. 9 times out of 10, our behaviors are being generated by an emotional imprint. And it's usually from early childhood, because the early imprint, it starts a cycle repeat process. So whenever we're looking at toxic behaviors, we always want to go into a meditation and then close your eyes, summon that behavior. Okay, so this is the behavior I'm doing. Where does it come from? Show me the trauma that is spawning this behavior pattern. So it's amazing. Start to do that and just see what the higher self gives you, because it's all information. It's all knowledge. You can even have imprints controlling your behavior, and that imprint is from, he's saying, the Holocaust. And he's saying that because someone has an imprint from the Holocaust who's going to watch the video. So you have to go in deep. You have to say, Holocaust, get off, go home. That's an attachment. Some of the attachments, because they're energetic beings, they imprint the soul form, the star people are saying. So it leaves a density mark on the actual light of the soul. Now, of course, it doesn't damage the soul. It's just like a veil system. So when that soul comes up out of the body at the moment of death, the higher self controls this. It pulls the soul up. When that soul goes into a new body and goes through the reincarnation process, sometimes they're born with birth defects, marks, scars, and the scars can be affiliated to the past lives. But the star people are saying the attachments can mark the soul with a tiny bit of density, so that when you drop into this lifetime, because of that density in the soul form, it allows that range of attachments to latch onto you. This is important because this is how your higher self pre-programs the light workers and the star seeds, or anyone really, when they drop into this reality. There are certain magnetic attunements each person has, and the magnetic attunements allows for certain manifestations to come, even if the person is set on not doing it. It's a magnetic attunement.
What about the sides of the body? I know Dolores Cannon would say an injury or scar on one side of the body, and I forget which is which, but on one side of the body is from past life. Another side of the body is this present lifetime.
Well, see, and the whole reason why you can't really say that is because some people are lefty and some people are righty. And so we have to take that into consideration. Now, also, because the star people are showing me, there are certain texts. Now, here in America, we read from left to right. What my starman is showing me is some texts go from right to left. And so every experiential may be manifest into this reality. So that includes, yes, it may be a past life on the left side because we read from the left to the right. However, someone could manifest it on the right. So you can't just base everyone into one compartment, because there's always that, he's showing me like an odd duckling who's like, no, I'm going to do it my way. And then they're going to go to the beat of their own drum. Yeah.
Right. So not always.
Yes.
It's not always.
But more importantly, the star people are saying the markings on the body correlate to the Kundalini channels in that location. So there are 4 Kundalini channels on the outside. We have it on the left: earth, air, fire, water. So air is in the front, fire is to the right. That's your chi energetic systems. Water is in the rear. That is connected into the spinal cord fluid because it is emotional in its nature. It is water. It is also tied into the magnetic field. All of the water inside of the body is directly correlated into the heart because the blood must flow through the heart in order to go through the imprint process of the emotion grids. Now, there's also extra Kundalini channels in the body. These are only 4. There's another one that is made of dark matter. The dark matter also contains a light matter Kundalini channel. These 2 are in the center of the body. One goes down into the dark realms or the dark octave below the feet, and one goes up into the light octaves. And then they go like that. This is important because different energetic discharges are tied into these Kundalini centers, and different manifestations may be achieved by triggering an elemental or one of the Kundalini channels in order to assist you in generating an attunement to that particular manifestation ability. So if the individual wishes to pull the water up the spinal cord fluid and activate the pineal gland with a piezoelectric spark, that may be achieved. If the individual wishes to pull the energy up, let's say the chi energetic systems, and then they wish to generate lightning, that may also be achieved. If the individual wish to pull the Kundalini energetics up the earth channel, they may then start to activate the magnetic grids in order to generate a aurora borealis, which then shall in turn raise the frequency of the human consciousness grids, allowing for all of humanity to open their heart centers and allowing each and every one of you to fine-tune your magnetic grid structure and embody more of the source frequency codings, which shall put the emotion grids of all humanity into a love, bliss, emotional frequency wave. Beautiful.
That was so beautiful. I'm almost positive I heard them just say that we could manifest an aurora borealis.
I got nervous, so I blanked out.
Yeah, someone just wrote, Mary Jean says, I'm deaf watching this again and taking notes. Yeah. Mary Jean.
Send me the notes.
Yeah. I have to listen to this over and over. Sometimes I put you on 0.75. Never. I'm always speeding up everyone else's videos. I'm putting it on 1.25. I think you are the only person Yeah, I slow down because I really want to get all of it. It's just so important and I'm so
Yeah.
drawn to it.
It's a very high frequency. That's what it feels like. So
The
it's
highest. It's
a
got to
high.
be. And it's so fun. It fills me with love and bliss to watch you when you are loving talking and when you slip into that and your face just it's just beautiful, the whole thing.
Thank you. It's
Thank
just
you so
such
much.
a blessing. And we just want to say thank you, Star People, for helping us and for channeling with
Yes,
us tonight.
yes,
And always
yes.
stay humble and stay grateful for them, because really the information is coming through them. And I'm just so grateful to have my Starman. He's amazing.
You guys are adorable. And I see the picture in the back. Somebody else asked if that was your Starman.
Yeah, that's him. One of my
And
friends,
that's
her name is Sunshine. She painted it.
it's beautiful.
Thank
It's
you.
absolutely beautiful. So, are you having the Zoom tonight? I know you like to have time in between, but just
I
in case.
do, but no Zoom, because
No
tonight we're
Zoom tonight.
traveling
Okay.
to New York. I forgot. I have the lady coming to the float place to hop in an ice bath, and we came home. So tonight we'll be getting in a car and going to the float place in Long Island.
Okay, wonderful. So, thank you so much. Mary Jean also wants a Starman.
Yes. Those
Maybe
were
we'll
the
talk
early
about that next
days
time.
jokes. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you
All right.
guys so incredibly much for coming to another episode of Starseed Activations. And so we will not be doing the shadow work Zoom tonight. Everyone else, yeah, you guys have a wonderful night. I do also offer sessions. So you guys can go to daniellelipton.com. You could send me any emails with the questions. We'll have Jody read them off to all of us so that we can see what questions the audiences have. And then, yeah, if you guys want to have a session or send me a message, that's wonderful. We are also going to be doing a clothing drive for hats, jackets, and gloves. And it's for kids. What year is it? It's like grade school, so 6th grade. So any size is fine. But my friend works for a local school. She's a nurse there, and so she's pulling together all sorts of jackets for the winter season. So anybody who wants to donate, just send a message to daniellelipton.com or even to the treeoflifeorganization.com. Excellent. So you guys have a wonderful night and many, many love and blessings.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
Thank you, Danielle.
Yes, thank you, Jody. You're amazing.